Some people say you shouldn't meet your heroes. You'll be disappointed. In this episode, Uber Metallica fan Andrew Cremeans not only met his heroes, he ended up working for them. Stay with us for his very special story.
Get ready for the 3324 podcast, where lifelong friends Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber share their love of all things music and movies. Dean has directed short films and is a music trivia buff, and Eric, trained in audio engineering, brings his extensive knowledge of music and film to the conversation as they discuss, debate, and celebrate their favorite albums, films, and much more.
Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast, a very special episode we're bringing to you. But before we get to that, of course, join us on social media, complete the mission, and find us on 3324 podcast on Instagram and Facebook. You'll get a daily dose of just fun music and movie information, right, Eric? I think it's just kind of, we're not changing the world. We're not building rockets, but we're just going to slide a little fun information into your day.
That's correct. Yeah.
Right.
Check it out.
I think we fill that gap. I think we fill it out nicely.
I totally agree. But it's a lot of fun. It's encouraging. I like to encourage people to join our page on Facebook and to, really, get involved in chatting it up and talking about stuff they like, or even commenting on our episodes that we roll out every Thursday. We'd love to hear from you, some feedback.
It's like the clubhouse.
That would be awesome. So
you come into the clubhouse and you hang, you sit down for a while, have a drink, see what's happening, and then you go about your day. You continue on. So we've got a very special guest. Andy, you've guested on this podcast many times. Did you ever think that you would end up being the subject of one of our podcasts? Usually we bring you in for expertise, for geekery, for clowning around, but this episode is about you.
Oh, that's amazing. I never thought that would happen. Absolutely not. There's major imposter syndrome happening here. So
no, you've earned it. You have definitely earned it. And Andrew had some very interesting things happen to him over the past few months. Like I said in the open, he had the experience of not only meeting his heroes, and he's gonna fill in that story, right? Because when we say meet your heroes, you know what? We're not talking about a meet and greet. Okay, you can pay for those. You can go to a con. You could pay for a picture with Linda Blair or Bruce Campbell or whatever, or you go to your favorite rock concert and they're there afterwards signing swag, and technically did you meet them? Sure, right? That kind of counts, but we're talking about something a little bit bigger here. The story is a lot larger than that. So before we get to it, though, obviously Andrew Cremeans has been with us more than a few times on our podcast. Check his Instagram out. We'll drop a link in the show notes. Andrew Cremeans art. It's going to be important to this story. You're going to want to he's going to kind of tell you the story, but the Instagram and his material there is really important. It's really germane to what happened to, and his incredible experience, right?
Yeah,
That's
it's like smell-o-vision. It's like
you do everything digital now, right? Everything's digital, so it would have no scent anyway. There's no ink and no paper, right? So it's not like the scent of the ink as you're dipping the quill in. And
I've gotten way too used to the undo button to go back.
But you'll get to see, if you check out his page, you'll get to see some of his earlier works. Awesome. I've always been a big fan of you.
Yes.
Thanks, man.
My brother. He's amazing, guys. Just check it out, and we'll see. You just again, drop some chats, drop some feedback. We would love to hear that. So what you think of his art.
The Andrew Cremeans Appreciation Society meeting is now in effect.
Has ended. Now
we get to just beginning. No, we're
done. Like we get to the nitty gritty.
Like Al Pacino said.
That's what I meant.
Like Al Pacino said, I'm just getting warmed up.
Yeah, please continue.
So let's talk about that. Meeting your heroes. I think it's, we all have favorite musicians, favorite, actors or baseball, athletes, whatever it is, politicians, whatever it is. There are people that we admire, maybe look up to or try and emulate or model. We all have our own. Obviously, there's no bones about who I would like to meet. Would be, of course, Mr. Robert Goulet, who's one of the greatest actors.
Wow.
Really?
That is not what I was expecting.
But I threw that out there for Eric, and I think he stopped. He didn't know. He's like,
I hope you got a spade and a
Oh wow,
hoe,
to dig them up.
a hoe to dig them up.
Wow,
Goulet.
jeez.
Goulet.
We can go back in time. We can get the DeLorean, go back. But
There you go.
it's one of those things that you know, if you're really into an artist or somebody, you probably imagine like, oh, what would I say to them if I got a chance to meet them? Or,
Yeah.
you know, would it be like an interview? Like if I met, you know, let's just say, well, you know, if I met Jeff Lynne, would it be an interview? You know, would I be asking him like, oh, and on this song, did you do this? Or would it be a conversation? Eric, what do you think? If you met like Clapton?
I don't think I'd want to meet Clapton.
Okay,
to be
then
honest.
let's go with somebody.
Well, I'm serious. No, because there are artists that you admire so much, and they've given you so much, with their work and over the years, and for whatever reason, you get to know these artists. You get to know their personalities through the music, through various stories, and But for somebody like him who was so high on that ladder, you just I wouldn't know what to say. It would be like, fumbling over your words. It's like meeting, royalty. Honestly, it's, it literally is like, he is one of those people that is like, but, I think if I wanted to meet somebody related to Clapton, it would probably be people that he's worked with, or perhaps, somebody in his band that, played with him, like Nathan East, for example, like bass player, or, the drummers that he's worked with or something like that. And through that, I can get some stories, I can get some dirt, that would make it for an interesting conversation, so because they probably have a lot more to tell. I would think.
So instead of going to the source, who might be a little bit more guarded and protected,
exactly.
Things,
they might be willing to, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe
go to the grapevine,
sign some disclosures or whatever. I don't know, but
So
it is concerning that you're getting an opportunity to meet somebody and you're afraid that you're going to catch them on a bad day, or something's going to happen where it's like, I don't want to know that you are not what I have in my mind, sort of thing. And that's happened quite a bit with I do a lot of artwork for Spooky Empire, which is a big horror movie convention in Orlando, and I've got to meet a lot of horror stars and stuff like that, and it's like, man, I really wish that didn't happen. But some of them were cool too. But
Andy, do you think that's because they're on like the convention circuit and they're just so done with people, like person after that's like a cattle line, right? It's just person after person. And they're obviously doing it for, it's more of a financial incentive to be there than for love of the game. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. But if you're like, the only thing you've ever done was play the Hare Krishna zombie in Dawn of the Dead, and you've been doing the convention circuit for 40 years.
Yeah.
Suck it up.
Yeah, you got to know what side of the bread it's buttered on, right?
Not to mention the fact that you often meet these people through for more social reasons, like they have like VIP parties and such, right? So the people are kind of hanging out in very informal situation, and you've shared some experiences with me. I don't want to some really cool, people in that regard, but there, I guess a few horror stories there too.
I don't want to pick on the Hare Krishna zombie, but it's more of just that, convention stuff. They're paid to be there. I'm not interrupting you at dinner. I'm not, so that's where it gets really weird, where it's kind of like, wait a minute, okay, am I not supposed to talk to you? Like, this is weird,
Well, yeah, because the fan kind of feels like they're owed something. Right? I'm paying $40 for a signed photo, and I think inherently they, and I don't know if that's right or wrong. That the fan feels like, well, you owe me something, right? Like I'm paying for this, and if you're having a bad day and you're just cranky, you're going to walk away soured. You're going to be like, oh, F this guy, he's not anything I thought, but maybe he's not really like that, or she.
I can tell you this, I can be a casual fan of somebody, but if I meet them or have met them and they're super nice and cool, I will be a diehard fan for the rest of my life. I'll watch whatever you're in. Yeah. If I'm a casual fan and you're a jerk, I will never watch anything you've ever done, ever do. I mean, so it's a weird how, and it's probably a pressure that's on them that probably shouldn't be, but to be on all the time and everything. Sure. But I mean, while you're in public, especially at events where you're supposed to be meeting fans and stuff like that, if you just do the least amount of work about being nice, and I'm your fan, man, so I can understand there's I've been around a lot of fans. I've watched fans be inappropriate with the actors too, where I get cringed out, where I'm just like, oh God, and they're super nice. So anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure they get put through the ringer too. Yeah, with those fans that are maybe a little bit too grabby or too obsessive about things. So I could see where they might be a little bit guarded, and especially maybe if they've had some type of an incident. So let's circle this back. So Andrew is a very prolific artist. He's done work for Marvel. He's done work for Disney. He's done some Star Wars stuff. He's done children's TV shows, but he also does a lot of artwork in his spare time, and some of it is kind of fan art of stuff that he likes. He's done Frankenstein. He's done a lot of other different types of art, the groovy, all the Saturday morning cartoon ones. Again, go to his Instagram and you'll see what I mean. But he did one in particular, I think it was a few years ago, and it was a fan picture inspired by Pulp Fiction, right? How long ago was that done?
Oh my God, it was a decade. It had to have been almost a decade I did it. There was a time when Pulp Fiction kind of fell off the radar a little bit, and like in the probably the 2007-ish, nobody was really talking about Pulp Fiction, but I watched it and I was thinking like, man, I really would love to have a cool Pulp Fiction shirt. And the cool thing is there's sites like TeePublic and that sort of stuff where you can upload artwork and buy a shirt or whatever. So I would do things where I would just draw a picture really quick, put it up on a shirt, buy it, and then take it down usually or whatever, so I could have the shirt or whatever. So I did a picture of Jules and Vincent that I thought would look cool, and that was about a decade ago. And then it just kind of sat on my Instagram for that whole time. I did a Mia Wallace too, doing the square.
The square, yeah. So on your Instagram, that image, would be buried in your Instagram. If it was 10 years ago, you've uploaded a lot of other art to your Instagram. So somebody looking for that would have to kind of go deep into your Instagram, or have happened to have found the image. Like I guess in a Google search, perhaps, maybe, right?
So, we're leading up to a big story here, which is the never meet your heroes. Or you should meet your heroes. I don't know. So, but anyway, so I was reading up. Everybody kept messaging me, "You're an artist. We should do NFTs together. You should do NFTs. You should do NFTs." And I was thinking, like, it just feels grifty to me. I don't know. It's weird. So I started looking into it, and I started reading about, like, I found a news article that said NFTs are artists' worst nightmare. And I clicked on it, and it said, just all these artists talking about how people are downloading their artwork and making NFTs of somebody's artwork, and they're unaware of it. They're just, there's an NFT of your art that somebody's making $20,000 off of or whatever. And I was like, wow, this is weird. And I started thinking, like, well, out of all the stuff that I do, it's very specific. Like, what could possibly be stolen of mine or whatever? And the first thing I did was type in Quentin Tarantino NFTs. And basically,
lo and behold,
And then I went to Google Images, and there was 50 news articles about Quentin Tarantino announces Tarantino NFTs, and my artwork is all over it, the Jules and Vincent. And I was like, wait, what? So I click on it, and it goes directly to TarantinoNFT.com or whatever it was, and Tarantino is talking about the NFTs and all this stuff, and my Jules and Vincent picture is right there on the front page. And I was like, now hold on just a minute here. So I started getting a little upset, started freaking out about it a little bit, because I thought he was selling my artwork as an NFT as part of this thing, which I think the original intention was to do that. And
just 1 second. I think the photo I saw was a picture of, like, Tarantino sitting in a chair and, like, the NFT, your image behind him.
Yeah, big. Yeah,
that came after the press,
on full display. Yeah.
That came after the press conference. So I go to their Twitter account, the company that's making the NFTs, and I write, "Hey, you're using my image. What are you doing? Please advise, or if you're going to sell this, tell me what's going on." So I get no response from anybody. And so I start freaking out a little bit. So I tweet, "Hey, it's come to my attention that Quentin Tarantino is selling my artwork as an NFT. This is why people don't trust NFTs," that sort of stuff or whatever. And I find a picture of a press conference of Quentin Tarantino on stage introducing his new NFTs with a PowerPoint presentation the size of a screen behind him. So there's like these shots of him, just Tarantino gesticulating and doing the whatever, gesticulating. Sorry, and he's right in front of my artwork, and I was thinking,
the picture.
And so I'm thinking like, man, any other circumstance, I would be so stoked right now. Like I would be so happy to have Tarantino, because I'm a huge Tarantino fan. So I reach out, and the tweet goes viral. It reached something like 700,000 people because it kept getting retweeted and retweeted and retweeted, because everybody wants to poo-poo NFTs anyway, and everybody's looking for confirmation bias. So they're like, see, here's another one, here's another one. So I reach out to the people, no response. I start saying, hey, what's going on? Finally, I start getting these weird kind of messages from people like, I kind of know some people that are involved, but like they feel bad about your artwork being stolen, but we can't really trust that you won't just like go to the press and all this stuff or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I just either take it down or give me money. That's all I care about. That's, or that's all I'm asking. So it turns out that Tarantino was being sued by Miramax for doing the NFTs to begin with, because Miramax owns the characters. So they didn't want him to be doing any NFTs with any of the characters, because it's technically Miramax's property and all this stuff. So the Tarantino NFT people thought that I was part of the Miramax lawsuit, and I was coming after them as one more layer of the lawsuit. So they didn't want to talk to me because they were afraid they were going to incriminate themselves or whatever. But then it turns out that what happened was the company that was doing the marketing for the Tarantino NFTs were paid to do a presentation and posters for the big gig and all that stuff, the press conference. And the company said that they drew the art. They stole my artwork and somebody else's artwork of Mia Wallace like wiping her nose, and got paid for it. Got paid big money for it, and I didn't see a dime of it. And so after talking to the people involved and all this stuff, whatever, it basically, I didn't get anything out of it. It just kind of died on the vine. They said, like, well, we'll help it. They basically said there's nothing we can do about it, but if you want to do an NFT, we'll promote it. And I'm like, I'm not doing artwork for you guys, so it
what?
Yeah, it was so cheesy and weird and gross, and just like all NFTs. I mean, I'm sure somebody's made tons of money off of NFTs and all this stuff, but it's ridiculous, man. But anyway,
it's the new crypto.
I'm pulling that back. It made me very, very sad, because I love Tarantino, and I'm sad that if you type in Cremeans Tarantino, I don't want to be into Google. It'll pop up, and that's not the way I would like to do it. But anyway, that's the story.
So suffice to say that interaction kind of soured you a little bit, but a big downer, mainly also because it was infringing on your hard work.
Yeah.
Right? And someone taking it, but that was someone that you were a fan of too. And maybe, we don't know to what degree Tarantino actually knew, or when you started tweeting, when did he become aware, or just like whatever, is he so far removed from it that it's, he's basically the figurehead of it. And then the NFTs are just happening in the back, and he's probably getting a flat fee or something and getting paid for it.
I made a point to say, I don't, just so I'm clear, I don't think Quentin Tarantino right-clicked on my artwork and saved it to sell it, but something fishy is going on here, and somebody's making a lot of money that's not me.
Sometimes they're not aware. Sometimes like I said, if it's a separate company that's doing it, he's going to take their word. Yeah, this is the artwork that we came up with, if they're portraying that it's their own. So he may be just as unaware, as you were, that was happening until you saw it. So there's one instance of, my hero kind of, involved in some circumstances that weren't too kind to you.
Yeah.
How long ago was that? That was relatively recent.
Last year. Yeah, it was a couple of months before the Metallica thing happened. And I had actually, when the Metallica thing did happen, I went and cleaned off my Twitter completely, because I didn't want to be associated with. You
wiped it?
Yeah, I just didn't want to be associated with being complaining about stuff. Sure. You know what I mean? So absolutely, because I was, I complained a lot.
Yeah, so, well, justifiably so. I mean, you had a valid complaint. So that brings us to Metallica, which is, like I said in the open, you are an Uber fan. You are, unabashedly a major fan of them since how long? Since the jump?
Well, August 1st, 1986, Charleston Civic Center.
I wasn't expecting a date. I was expecting a year. I wasn't expecting a day and a date.
Yeah.
He's got it down. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. My mom took my sister and I to see Ozzy Osbourne on the Ultimate Sin Tour in 1986, and Metallica opened up for them. And nobody really, I mean, there's some people that did know, but I mean, most of the people that were there to see Ozzy. He had, kind of poppy around that time. He had Shot in the Dark on the radio.
Yep.
And Metallica comes out first, and it was like the TDK commercial. Like everybody's hair was blown up back, and it was like, whoa, Yeah. And I was 9 years old. I was right above Cliff Burton, and I was watching him headbang, and they were going 100 miles an hour. And my mom leans over, and she's like, "That man's head's gonna fall off," because he was just headbanging the whole time. I'll never forget that. But I recently heard my mom tell this story because she was like being all proud mom about the Metallica thing. She was telling the story about she saw me react to Metallica for the first time. She's like, I watched him and he completely lit up and changed and everything else. It was like the coolest thing I've ever seen. So I've been obsessed ever since. And I mean,
what was it about Metallica? Like what? A 9-year-old kid, like what was it about that grabbed you and really kind of got into you that hasn't left?
Well, there's around that time I was obsessed with hair metal. I mean, like that was just the thing. I mean, everybody was wearing leopard spandex and makeup and hair 50 feet in the air, and they're all talking about girls, and it's all kind of sexy and gross and cool at the same time and sleazy. But they came out with tennis shoes on and jeans and played so fast and angry that it just nobody could not pay attention. I mean, it was just like, wow, So it was cool. It was kind of subversive, and you were just kind of like, okay, well, this is kind of neat, And then I didn't go home and buy Master of Puppets, but I was very excited about it. And then when Justice for All came out a couple of years later, they had the song One, which was just huge
all over MTV.
So I was always when I first moved to Florida, I had the Ride the Lightning tape, and I would listen to that over and over again. So it was Master Puppets is always my favorite album. It still is, but I'm
sorry, I'm going to interrupt her for a second there. Just throw you. Well, I'm not going to throw you under the bus here, but it's
please do
embarrass you a little bit. But you played that song, didn't you? One at Battle of the Bands.
Oh yeah,
in high school.
In high school, I was in the Battle of the Bands 2 years in a row with my buddy Mike and Tom and Jason. We played Metallica songs both years, and so I mean, like when I was in high school, I was not convinced that I wasn't in Metallica. So, I mean, I was. Awesome. It was a career choice. It's like, what are you going to do? I will be in Metallica eventually. But I mean, they were just the coolest. I mean, like they're especially in 1991 when the Black Album came out, when all the original fans of the first 4 albums start complaining that they sold out and all this stuff or whatever. But you could not ignore Metallica in 1991, 92. Nope. I mean, they were the biggest thing on the planet. And I scholars had to theorize how that lightning in the bottle happened, that just like everybody was ready for angry music. Metallica was softening up just a tiny bit, and it just hit like this, chasm.
And it was melodic enough that people, that the public at large, general record buying public, let me check this out, and then they can enjoy it. So it wasn't so so disconnected that this is really popular, but because I remember even picking it up then. I'm like, I'm going to check. Like everybody was just grabbing this album at the time. Yeah. So they were right. They kind of brought it just still Metallica, but just down enough where you're gonna hit more of the masses without totally changing your sound.
I think they were unique. They were unique for their time, for their perhaps a little ahead of their time. I'm not a big metal fan as you guys know, but their sound is unique. I mean, there's a lot of other bands that I think that have come after that have kind of emulated, what they're doing, perhaps even angrier, even more like death metal and that kind of thing. But I always admired that they kind of stood out from that crowd. Are they the reason you took up the guitar, Andy?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
That's what I thought.
I could go all night about. Yeah, Eric, you've known me for what 30
Yeah.
years. You know that I have been unapologetic. I will
Oh yeah.
fight you in the face.
You got me. I mean, you got me interested, man.
Yeah,
We went to go see the documentary in the theater,
yeah,
and that's what kind of did it for me, man. I was really respectful towards, because I love seeing stories and hearing about stories about bands sort of like the Beatles, like not getting along. It's like,
yeah,
and this band, of course, has a lot of those kinds of stories. And
yeah.
Some Kind of Monster was a very interesting doc, and then we went to see them on the Death Magnetic tour at the Ice Palace or at St. Pete Times Forum. I don't even know what it's called anymore, but they
Yeah,
keep
that was it.
changing the name of the arena. But
Well,
so that was an
yeah.
experience. Yeah, it was
You know,
great.
the Black Album, they famously said that because everybody, that's when I said I'll fight you. I just basically the whole sellout. I mean, like people come at me two ways every single time I bring up Metallica, and it's either sellout or Napster. Those two things come up. But the Black Album, the sellout album, basically they played And Justice for All, the album, that tour. They had 7, 8, 9 minute long songs of prog metal, and they were playing these shows over and over again, and they were watching people's eyes glaze over because after 7.5 minutes of And Justice for All, you're just like thinking about your laundry list, and they're like, you know what? Next time we get together, and we start writing songs, they're going to be shorter songs. So they wrote shorter songs. That's what happened, and
but it still could be Metallica, right?
Yeah.
It still can.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of touched upon this, didn't we, with
Rush,
with an episode with Rush, and we just talked about, we just recorded another episode, and we kind of brought up the idea that some bands, the more creative they get, they tend to get, they're not doing the same thing that we like, and they just get dismissed, and that's not always the case. Sometimes it's better. Sometimes it's they're adapting. They're
Well, I mean,
you reach a bigger audience, then you can go back to the other stuff if you want to as well.
Yeah.
My the first video game I ever worked on was called Talk With Me Barbie. It was a Barbie video game, and that was 23 years ago. I can't imagine if I've only made Barbie games for the last 23 years, or people would be expecting me to go back and just draw more Barbie. And this is not even comparing, but like as a metal artist or Metallica, it's like let a brother grow, like what do you so you get you become such a huge fan of these people, you start to know about their personality and their personal lives and that sort of stuff, and you can see that around this time James is listening to Leonard Skinner all the time, Kirk is listening to blues, Lars is into hip hop, and Jason's into metal and all this stuff or whatever, and they're like, when the Load and Reload album came out, people are starting to freak out because they cut their hair. And and again, I will argue, there is nothing more punk rock metal than a metal band cutting their hair first.
Sure.
Because they wanted to, not because of an image. They're just screw it, we're going to cut our hair. And it became just one more nail in the coffin and everything else. And it's just
another thing for people to pick on for those that had an agenda for it. So, so you're licking your wounds from the Tarantino thing, right? You're kind of like, man, this just kind of sucked. A little jaded, I'm sure.
Yeah.
How did this come about? How did you end up first being contacted, then contracted?
Well,
this story has a couple of different prongs. First, there was a poster.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Okay, so November of 2020. This is I guess 8 or 9 months after we all locked down, the country locked down. Metallica played it was called Helping Hands. They played a live show on TV that you could pay to, it was like a pay-per-view thing. And they're in this room and they're surrounded by these big screens, like the Star Wars volume. And there's these little hexagons, and every little hexagon has somebody's webcam on it. So people that are watching it on their computer, they'll play a song and they're like, hey, you, number 24 from St. Louis. And then they'll turn their mic on and they could say whatever they want to Metallica. And they're like, it was just really, really cool because, 8 months, everybody had been locked down for so long. It was like a big release and it was just cool. But whenever they would, probably every 3 or 4 songs, they would cut to a commercial for their foundation called the All Within My Hands Foundation, which is their charity. And their charity helps people with food insecurities. It helps people get people jobs. It helps do scholarships. Metallica Scholars helps people get scholarship for trade work like electricians and mechanics and that sort of stuff too. So I kept seeing these commercials. Like one of them was like, last year Metallica donated $750,000 to Australian fire relief. 8 months ago, it was $600,000 to the first responders for COVID, and it was just like $600,000, $1 million, $800,000. It was just showing all the money that their foundation is giving, and they don't keep any of it. It's not. I mean, they have they have Metallica is super generous with everything, and and they're not loud about it. They're not like doing press releases constantly about like, hey, look what we did. They did this for a concert because they were trying to get funding because they're trying to raise money for first responders for COVID and stuff like that. So I'm like watching this and I'm like, man, this is crazy. And this is in the middle of the pandemic, so of course nobody's working and everything's going nuts or whatever. And I was thinking, well, I've always wanted to do something for Metallica. I've always wanted to do a poster because I'm a huge fan of the band, but I'm also a fan of the posters. Like there's these poster artists like Reese Cooper and Ken Taylor and Squindo and Luke Priest, Wolf Skull Jack. These people are just amazing poster artists. So like, I was like, I would love to do something like that before. So I started drawing something a while back, and I eventually just decided, you know what, I'm going to finish the picture as my own little Zen garden while I'm sitting here not doing anything. It beats putting puzzle pieces together because we were literally putting jigsaw puzzles together because we weren't leaving the house. So I finished this piece of artwork, and I wrote info at All Within My Hands Foundation, and I said, hey, my name's Andrew Cremeans. I'm an artist, and I'm a freelance artist, and that comes with money comes scarcely at best sometimes when you're a freelance artist. And so I was like, I don't have a ton of money right now to give you, but I would love to donate this artwork for you guys to do whatever you want to with it. Stick it on a keychain, print one poster out, let them sign it so they can auction it off, do whatever you want to with this picture. And I'd never thought that I would ever hear back because it was info at All Within My Hands Foundation.
Yeah.
And
so was that the poster? Was that
yeah.
Okay.
So about a couple days later, I get an email back from a beautiful change agent, Renee Richardson, who is the director of philanthropy. My goodness, at All Within My Hands Foundation, wrote back, and she's like, "Wow, this is really good. Let me throw this up the ladder and see what happens." And I was like, "Oh man, that's cool. I got a response. And I came to know her over time, and we hung out when I got to go meet the band or whatever. So we, she was telling me, they get stuff like this all the time, and she's just decided just to look at this one time, and she's like, this is not what we normally get, and she's like, this is actually pretty good. So so apparently they, the foundation and the people that were doing the merchandise were kind of fighting over what to do with it. So they decided to make it their 40th anniversary poster because it was the year leading up to 2021 was their 40th anniversary. So they used the artwork for their 40th anniversary poster, and they released them all as foils, which is like they printed 500 foil posters, which they've never done before, where they're usually chasers like Pokemon cards. They'll like, if you buy a poster on their website, you might get a foil one. Yeah, you might get a foil one to show up, but they made the entire run foils. So it went really, really fast and sold out in, something like 58 seconds or something like that on the website.
And then you kept a certain amount as well to sell on eBay to donate as well, right?
Yeah. On my own, that was the thing, is like usually artists will get 10, they'll throw you a bone and like, hey, here's some 10 posters or 20 posters, something like that. They gave me quite a few, and I was like, this is awesome. Well, I will sell them on my website, and I'll donate the money to the charity because this is exactly what I wanted. So they like I said, they sold out in less than a minute. By the time I copied and pasted the link to people to say it was up, they clicked on it and said it was sold out, and I was like, oh crap, really? Because I didn't know how this stuff worked. I never did it. So did it before. So it went really well. It sold really fast, and the proceeds of the posters, 100% went to the All Within My Hand Foundation, which was crazy. And they it went really, really well, and they thanked me for it. And so like it's actually pretty cool. I was really just super stoked, but I didn't talk to the band or anything else. I was talking to All Within My Hands around that time. So
yeah. So what was two questions? A, did you change the poster at all, or did they ask for any revisions, or what you did was what you sent? They're like, this is perfect. Don't touch anything.
I added the 40 years logo
yeah.
On the bottom of it. But I added a lot of little Easter eggs, and stuff. So it was pretty cool when it came out. There were YouTube videos and like Twitter feeds of like people that are circling them, like putting little red yarn, like this is from this album. This must be this song, cool. And whatever. Yeah, it was pretty cool because I did like visual representation of all the albums and a couple other things too. And I was reading what people were saying. Like I think the smoke represents the and I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm not going to theories.
Let the theories commence.
Yeah,
let her rip. So what was your reaction when they, let's throw this up the chain, let's see, which is probably, might have been enough for anybody, right?
Yeah.
But then they get back to you and say, yeah, we want to use this. Like, what was that surreal for you? Was that like I can't even believe that this is happening, or that this happened?
This entire year for me, everybody keeps asking me like, well, how are you feeling? And I said, I feel like something really awesome is happening to somebody I'm friends with, and I'm really happy for them. It just doesn't feel real at all. But like when they decided to use the poster for the 40th, now this isn't like a show. This is like the 40th anniversary poster that like everybody would want. I would want to buy a 40th anniversary poster and stuff. So
yeah,
it went really, really fast. And I feel like I kind of got to skip the line a little bit, which that led to the like, me feeling like, man, I hope nobody else is mad. Like none of the other poster artists are mad at me or anything, So, but I got like 14,000 likes or something like that on their. It's probably more like bigger than that or whatever. 14,000 likes like very quickly on their Instagram, and Kirk Hammett liked it on the Instagram, which I was like, oh, that's step in the right direction. That's pretty cool. And then the reaction was just really, really cool, and like there were thousands of comments, and I read every single one of them, much to my chagrin. But just because there's just people out there that are just going to hate anything. They're just going to hate.
Of course.
They hate life and whatever. But the band liked it. The band signed off on it. And I knew they told me the band had to sign off on it in order to get printed. So they saw it. They liked it. And I'm like, I don't care if anybody likes it or not. The band likes it. So
yeah. And I remember when you had told us about it and you had said you were going to go auction them off, I went to eBay, and the bids were like out of control.
Yeah.
So, not only did you do something for a good cause, but you made a lot of those Metallica fans happy that missed out when that thing sold out like really quick, right?
Well, it's unfortunate because the poster, I knew nothing about the poster trading, like underground thing going on or whatever. But like I sold my versions of the posters for just a couple of dollars more with my like at $50 more than it was they were selling on the website because I signed it, and they sold out pretty quick, but I hadn't signed them yet. They were in a box behind me, so I put them up on my website, and they sold out in probably 5 or 6 minutes or something like that. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, whatever. And then I started getting text messages with links to eBay.
Yep, secondary market.
And my friends were sending me these links, and I'm clicking on them, and people had bought the poster and put it on eBay, and the freaking posters are in a box sitting behind me, unsigned yet. I haven't signed them. I haven't put them in a tube, nothing, but it's selling for $800 and it's sold for $800. A bunch of them sold for $700-800 and they haven't even been sent yet. And it was like Schrodinger's cat, like it was like, is there a poster? Is there not a poster? Which was really, really frustrating because, I was doing this for charity. I was selling them for $150 and people were selling them for $800-900. And I'm not seeing it. The charity's not seeing it. Metallica's not seeing it. And people were just throwing this cash down around, and it got me really, really frustrated. So I had a couple of other ones too, that I didn't sell on my site. I put on eBay just so people could bid on them that didn't get the opportunity to, so I could donate. And then I donated the money, and I got a beautiful letter from All Within My Hands Foundation saying, or an email saying like, "Oh my God, this is generous. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hope to work with you in the future." And I'm like, "Yes, please."
Yeah. So then the waters kind of settled down a little bit. It's kind of like, okay, this amazing thing happened to Andy, and this is an incredible thing, but they weren't done with you yet, apparently.
Yeah.
You said, "Please, sir, can I have another?" And they're like, "Well, since you asked."
Yeah.
So what happened next with the shirt?
Well, it's again, Renee, she is the greatest. She, is like I said, or very poorly said, director of philanthropy at All Within My Hands. She wrote me and she's like, "Hey, we're doing the month of giving. Do you want to do some artwork?" And I basically wrote her and I said, "Don't just write me and tell me what I'm doing. Don't even bother asking anymore." So she said, so they the last couple of years they've done the month of giving in May, where they design a shirt or a poster, and all the proceeds go to All Within My Hands Foundation. They also do some auctions and stuff like that for guitars, signed guitars and posters and that sort of stuff on their website. So the month of giving last year had a really awesome poster. I can't remember his first name. His last name was Hart, but it was a really cool poster. And they said, "You want to do some artwork for that?" And I was like, "Absolutely, that'd be awesome." So I got on the phone and I said, "So what are you looking for?" And they said, "Whatever you want," which is the worst thing you can hear as an artist, because it's option paralysis. You don't have any parameters. You don't know what to do. She said, "Well, there's a lock and a key in the All Within My Hands Foundation logo. Just have a lock and key in there somewhere." So I was like, "Okay, cool." So I did some sketches, and I get an email that said, "This looks awesome. Let me pass it to the band to see what's going on." And I'm like, so I went to bed that night thinking like, oh, the band's looking at the artwork. Like this isn't, it's cool to be invited the first time, but the second time back, if you fail this time, then it's like you're never good, So get an email back that said, "James thinks this is spectacular." And I said, "Thank you. I am framing this email." And so they said, "Go for it, draw up," and I really, really lucked out because it just so happens while I was drawing this, this is not why I was lucky. Russia invaded Ukraine, and I was just sitting here doom scrolling all day thinking like, I can't see this and not do something. I've got to help somehow, but I'm completely lost. I was just watching videos of, news reports of kids getting cut down and all this stuff. And I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. So Metallica decided to donate 100% of the proceeds of what I was drawing to World Central Kitchen. Chef Jose Andres is a amazing guy who's he fed people in the Haiti earthquakes, and he just travels the world. Amazing chef, just makes food for people. So 100% of the proceeds are going to go to feed the people that are fleeing Ukraine in the other countries. So it's like, I was thinking, okay, this is awesome. I get to do something that's going to help out and that sort of stuff. So
they decided to do that. They pretty much answered your prayer of
absolutely
wanting to help. And that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. So, and you sent us the link and I immediately, and Eric and I were one of the lucky ones also, just to be lucky enough and blessed to get one of those shirts. Oh, they are absolutely amazing.
Boom. And Jacob, he bought one.
Oh, did he really?
Because I bought one. And then he's like, "I like that shirt." He said, "So I said, there's some still available. You should get one."
Are they still available, or is the run completed?
They refilled it, sold out, and then they refilled, and now they're down to 3 sizes. So, but
I keep getting pop-ups on my feeds about the Helping Hands and Metallica, because I joined.
We'll put links in the show notes for all those, just in case if there are any left, and anybody wants to grab a.
And your image is is one of the things that pop up right away. Like that shirt is like the Helping Hands T-shirt. Boom, there it is.
And even if one's not your size, I think Andy has one framed behind him. T-shirt. So it stands as a piece of art as well. Even if you can't get your size, the donation is worth it alone. I was in it, right from the jump to more than happy to help out. So
well, these guys
okay,
do not.
so that happens, right? So kind of, all right, now the shirt. Okay, so now the shirt, and now the dust starts to settle. Then you get, was it a phone call or another email?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say that the World Central Kitchen does not screw around. Those guys, they got bombed. Their kitchen got bombed, and people got seriously hurt, and they still fed people. I mean, they're just amazing. So I was just saying, any kind of help to those guys, especially Jose.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, pick up a shirt. Pick up a shirt.
So they decided to release the shirt early because the month of giving was going to be in May, but all this stuff was going down with Russia, and they needed to get the money there quick. So they started the month of giving early. So I get an email from Renee again and said, "Hey, you want to come hang out in San Francisco?" And I was walking around the neighborhood, and she's like, "So here," she's like, "Look," she's like, "Before you answer, here's what's going on. There's every year previous to COVID, Metallica has Metallica Night at San Francisco Giant Stadium, where they play the music, and like Kirk and James play the Star Spangled Banner, and Lars throws out the first pitch, and Rob plays ball with the kids and that sort of stuff. So I've always seen the videos on their social media and stuff like that. She's like, "We're doing that, but we're kind of doing a big thing for All Within My Hands at the San Francisco Giant Stadium, and your shirt is like the thing. We'd love for you to come out and like hang out at the stadium and do a Q&A, because I think CNBC is going to be doing a documentary on All Within My Hands and stuff. It'd be really cool." Now, before this, I gave them the artwork, and I just want to say also that when they posted the 40th poster, and when they posted this shirt, Metallica said on their Twitter, "Check out the new design from Metallica family artist Andrew Cremeans." And I was like, what the, I was blown away that they wrote that. Yeah. This is a family podcast.
No, it's not.
Well, what
it's
the
Metallica
fuck?
family podcast now.
Yeah. So it was just the coolest thing ever. And Metallica has been really, really cool about recognizing artists. Whenever they release a new poster, they say, "This poster, check out this new poster from Ken Taylor, this new poster from this." And like, you don't see that with bands. Like, nobody knows who did the Megadeth.
Yeah, it's normally nameless and faceless, and you just get the image.
They really do that, So I did a progression piece where you can see me draw line by line the artwork or whatever, and they posted it on their Twitter and said, "Check out Andrew's artwork." And they even posted a picture on my Twitter of me drawing the picture that I sent them. And I was like, my friends are texting me, and I was like, this is, it's just really, it was so awesome. But anyway, they said, "You want to come hang out in San Francisco for the whatever?" And I'm walking around the neighborhood, and I was just like, yeah, of course, So the problem was it was a month and a half away, so that gave me a month and a half to think about all the stupid things I'm going to say to the band, and how much of an ass I'm going to make of myself, and all this stuff or whatever. But she, basically she said, "We're being very careful with COVID because they're going to be doing some shows in South America right after the game. So you might not get to hang out with the band." And I said, "I don't care. Like, I'll rearrange chairs on the lawn if you need me to, or whatever. I'll just be cool. It's cool to be part of it,
Yeah.
So she's like, "Okay, well, you might have to pass a COVID test and all that stuff or whatever." I'm like, "Whatever you need, whatever." So the month leading up to it, my daughter, is 11, and she doesn't care. She's, like touching everything. Like, she's, I'm just like, "I can't get sick. Please do not get me sick." Cause if I fly out there and this is my opportunity to possibly meet my heroes, and I fail the COVID test in San Francisco, it's going to be the worst day of my life. So we locked down pretty hardcore leading up to it. And then that was the big game happened. Wow. So
you avoid COVID, you navigate quarantining yourself from your family as best as you can. I'm sure they didn't take it personally. I'm sure they understood.
Yeah.
But and so finally, when did this happen? When when did you fly out to San Francisco? It was just happened recently.
Yeah, May 22nd.
May 22nd, and we're recording this in the middle of June. So this is still fresh, still a fresh experience for you.
Oh yeah, man. Here, okay, so I get there and I get to meet Renee in person for the first time, and she was amazing, and like everybody was just really, really cool. And they basically said, okay, well, we're having a pre-show thing for VIP members, and a Q&A session, and a raffle and that sort of stuff or whatever. So you'll be there with Rob Dietrich and Stefan Tarazi. Now, Rob Dietrich is the guy who crafts blackened Metallica whiskey. He's the whiskey guru guy, and he's a rock star in his own right. Like in the whiskey field, like he's just the man or whatever. So it was just really cool to meet him, and I'm trading him a poster for some whiskey. But I got to hang out with him and Stefan Tarazi, who is the editor-in-chief, I believe, of So What magazine, which is Metallica's magazine. But he wrote for all kinds of magazines back in the 80s, metal magazines and stuff. So I was a fan of his for a long time. So I got to hang out with him and stuff. So I was like, this is already cool, because we were kind of sitting together at a table, because nobody really knew who I was, and nobody knew Stefan by face, I don't think. So we were all just kind of hanging out while people were walking around and stuff. And they had food everywhere, and they had this table lined up of the poster and some autographed stuff from Metallica, and you're selling raffle tickets and that sort of stuff. And there was like the new Metallica whiskey was on display and stuff like that. So they call me up and I do the Q&A, which is really, really fun. And then after I got off stage, everybody was like, oh, hey, like I nobody knew who I was, because I don't, I just drew a picture or whatever. We're like, oh, I like your artwork and stuff. And it was cool because a couple of the guys that follow me on Instagram were there, and they were like, oh my God, Andrew, gave me a big hug, and they're like, hey, can I get a selfie with you? And I'm like, why? And but it was cool. So around that time, Renee gets an envelope and a couple of envelopes. She looks at her envelope, looks up at me, and she's like, oh, you're going to be happy. And I was like, oh God, I don't know what this means. So Metallica goes out onto the field and plays the national anthem, at the guitars, and just like, hey, well, there's James Hetfield and there's Kirk Hammett just right over there. This is kind of neat. That alone, I was done. Like, I was like, this is cool. I was part of something, and they posted some of the interview, I guess, on their Twitter account, me signing the poster and stuff. And I was like, this is the coolest. It couldn't get any cooler than this. And then the ticket said Cloud Suite, and which was like a part of the stadium, which is what you would imagine, like a really nice suite at the game or whatever. And I go up there, and they said, Renee said the band's probably going to be up there. So it was understood beforehand, because I asked her if the band was going to be there on the phone months before, and she said, we'll see because of COVID and stuff. But the implication was, you're here as a peer, so don't go freaking out and asking for autographs or any of that stuff or whatever. So she didn't say that, of course, but it was like, you're here, just be cool, man. So I, you walk in, and there's this suite, and you walk straight ahead, and like you down this hallway of lights and clouds and stuff like that. On the side, you look to the right, and there's like this lounge area with couches and this gigantic buffet table just covered in food. And then on the left, there's a bar and two people standing there just like, what do you want? Like, on the house, like, just bring it, And then If you look forward was the field, like there's the baseball field. And then on the other side of the glass were 3 rows of seats that are out in the stadium if you want to go out and watch the game that way. So I filled up on food while they were down there, so I wouldn't make an ass of myself and have chili all over me or whatever when they came up. And I got to shake hands with the hands that made my favorite songs, and it was unbelievably cool. The cool thing is that the people that work for the band are very respectful and stay back. They just let the band, like, nobody's bothering them with anything. And the implication, it's not a fear thing at all. It's more of just like, just let them, like don't talk to them, let them do their thing or whatever. And I think that that's just awesome. And I think that they're, the cool thing is just talking to them too. They've been doing this for so long that they're just the four guys. They're not, the biggest.
So they didn't have a bunch of
band in
handlers.
history.
Is that what you meant? Like people kind of
Yeah,
getting in between them and kind of,
no,
trying to manage things?
At the suite, it was just walking around, and so the one thing I did hear a couple of times is you're probably not going to talk to James, because James usually comes with his family and he sits kind of off to the side, and he's he's nice, but he keeps to himself, and like there's
to do his own thing.
More spirited people in the band that you'll probably talk to or whatever. But so it's like, so don't even think about talking to James, or don't get your hopes up talking to James. And James was my boy, like I was obsessed with James Hetfield my whole life. So I can tell you this, what's really cool is when Metallica walks into the room, it sucks the air out of the room, like the members. So like I'm not facing the door, and James comes in, and you just feel something different. Just everybody just stops or something, and like you turn around and like, oh, there's James Hetfield just walks right by me, and, because I've seen them 20 times live and I've been right up to the stage, whatever, but like just to be standing next to him, and it's really, really cool. And I'm trying to, I'm playing it cool. I'd hate to see a video of myself. I probably wasn't, but, he sat down and was watching the game, and I was thinking, okay, well, that's cool. I mean, there's James, and there were conversations happening, and I was on the periphery. I didn't engage or whatever, but the understanding is don't go talking to the band. If they talk to you, that's fine. Or if you get introduced, that's fine, but don't just whatever. So, we get to the end of the game, and, I'm getting concerned that I'm never going to meet James, even though he's here. And, so I go back and I start getting food more to eat my sorrows. That's not true. I started getting more food because I'm fat, but I start piling it on the plate or whatever. And then James walks up and he's like, what's good? What's good? That looks pretty good, whatever. And he like points at something, and I was like, oh yeah, this is pretty good and stuff like that. Let me rewind really quick. So halfway through the game, two women walked up. James is at the buffet table. Two women like ran up to him. Oh my God. James Hetfield, can I take a picture with you? And he was super nice. And he just said, I don't take pictures, but I'm happy to talk to you about whatever you want to talk about. And they just stood there, and we're like, wow, we like your music. And he's like, thank you very much.
What do we do now?
Yeah, exactly. They wanted the hunt. They wanted the proof. They didn't have anything to say. And I was thinking, I was so blown away at the coolness and it was like kryptonite. It was like, I was just thinking, like, I can't imagine my hero saying, I'm not going to take a picture with you, but I'll talk to you about anything you want to talk about. And I would keep him there for 4 hours. You know what I mean? But I think Paul McCartney does the same thing. He doesn't take pictures, but he talks to people. And so like, they just like turned on their heel and left, and he went back to doing his food. And I was thinking, okay, that was pretty awesome. I'm never going to get a picture with him because I know that he's not going to take pictures. So anyway, buffet table. What's good? Oh, that looks pretty good. Hey, whatever, And I just leaned over and I said, hey, James, I'm Andrew Cremeans. I drew the 40th poster in this shirt, whatever. Hey, brother. And I reached down, and he's got a Metallica M tattoo on his thumb that I've watched that hand play riffs for decades, So I reach out and shake his hand, and he shakes my hand. I look down, and it's one of those moments in your life where I see the Metallica M shaking my hand, and it's like that. Like when you die, you see the birth of your daughter, you see James Hetfield's M shaking your hand. But it was just really cool. I mean, he was just super nice, super cool, super laid back. And the cool thing about Metallica, Lars specifically and James specifically, is they have learned to be present. And I don't know how they've learned this over years or whatever, but when I was talking to James, he was looking me dead in the eye and listening to what I was saying. And it was intimidating as hell because I never look at anybody in the eye when I talk. I'm ADD. I'm all over the place. But I'm like, words that are coming out of my mouth, he's listening to me and he's engaged. And it was just really, really cool. I talked to him about movies and art and stuff, everything but Metallica. I didn't talk about Metallica at all, really. And, I asked him at the end, is there a theme or artwork or any of that stuff that like no other artist has tackled that you would love to have seen over the years and that sort of stuff? And he said, it's a really good question, but I usually just leave it up to the artist, and you seem to be doing a pretty good job on your own. So, just have fun with it, And wow. I was like, and he, walked off, and I texted Renee. I was like, Andrew Cremeans, 1977 to 2022, RIP, basically. And it was the coolest, man. It was just, he was just super down to earth, super cool. And, I talked to him for so long, I got the guts to just say like, hey, James, it's cool if not, but you mind if I get a picture with you? And he's like, hey, you came all the way from Florida. It'd be a shame for you not to get a picture. And I was like, he like took me around the corner so nobody would see pictures being taken. Yeah. So,
that's really,
that's a lot of respect for you too. Cause you had seen him deny other people.
Yeah.
Right. So you knew right there that this, for you to ask would be a Hail Mary.
Yeah. But at the same time,
and he
could have been really
obliged that.
Yeah.
What I love about that story, because you had told me that this before, Andy, and what I really admire about that story is that he presented himself as a human being, and not just a rock star to these girls, and they just didn't see it. They weren't prepared for that. They didn't prepare for him being just a person and him willing to give himself some time and
James specifically has done
such a great story,
an amazing amount of work on himself over the last couple of decades. And he generally doesn't do meet and greets and that sort of stuff because from what I understand, the bowing down worship thing doesn't
doesn't do anything for him.
It's not good for his recovery and that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. So he just kind of like very happily says, I love you all. I probably won't be part of that, but I'll, know that I love you.
Stays away from it. So one of the funny things I saw, and it came up in my feed, I don't know if Metallica posted it or All Within My Hands, but there was a video of you when you were in San Francisco signing a poster for a fan.
Yeah.
And she had her phone out. That's and the first thing she said to you was, "Don't fuck it up."
Don't fuck it up.
No, what was?
And you looked at her. You're like, "What did you say?" Like,
oh no. I laughed.
When I saw that post, I was like, "What is he? What's he talking about?" Like Dean posted that, and I thought you said it, Dean. Like I thought you were saying, "Don't fuck it up." Like what is he talking?
Yeah,
like, what are you doing?
The fan was like, this is a rare poster. She's got the artist in front of her who's going to sign it. No pressure, Andy. Like, don't fuck it up.
It was a little bit more complicated than that. These posters are like super, super rare, and the band had already signed the poster. I was the last in line to sign the poster, and it was going to the auction. Okay. Yeah. So it was like Metallica's already signed this, and they didn't fuck it up. You're the last one here. Don't fuck this up. But, she was joking, but it was like. I laugh because I was like, I was thinking the exact same thing. Don't fuck this up. But they ended up, they signed one for me too. This is nice. Anybody who is on the audio is not going to see this, but I brought it here for the video. This is the poster.
Wow.
The foil. Yeah, that's
it's a gorgeous piece. Again, you don't have to be a Metallica fan to appreciate Andy's art. And you've got pictures of that on your Instagram as well. So for people that want to check it out and see the T-shirt. I mean, I don't know how you can have a better story.
Yeah, Lars wrote all the best to Andrew, all the best from Metallica. Nice. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's just Andy. It's just an amazing story of from a child. Don't drop it. Don't fuck it up.
It's too late.
What was that? That didn't snap in half.
Something fell off. Falls off the chair. But I mean, like let me just reiterate one thing is like anybody who's known me for any amount of time knows that like there are two things that are a through line through my life: Star Wars and Metallica. Like I jump all over the place, but those are always the things. So like to be able to meet these guys or the opportunity to meet them was just unbelievable. Because I mean, like before the show, they were playing in South America to 55,000 people, and they're untouchable. These people are untouchable, but it's like you hear these stories and you actually like just talking to James specifically, they're just human. They're like humans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But the incredible thing too is they asked you to do work for, like, not only did you know, this isn't like you mailed in a postcard and you won a contest and you got to hang with Metallica.
Yeah.
You took a risk and you emailed something to somebody. Somebody saw it, thought enough of what you were doing, right? Because you said that kind of stuff is a dime a dozen here. You know, let me see this. And what you did caught their eye enough that they brought it to Metallica, Andy, and said, you know, take a look. And they're like, yeah. So you had an impact. Not only did you get to meet your heroes, you got to have, you know, an indirect or direct impact on them.
Yeah.
Right? Because they were looking at your artwork and making decisions about whether or not they wanted to work with you, that's, you know, the mind blow that, you know, that's mind blown right there for me is not only to meet your heroes, but to have your heroes kind of respect what you're doing.
Yeah. I
you know,
it's hard for, it's very difficult for me to take, in the best possible way. But you
don't ever underestimate it. It's such a great.
I hope it's not the last time I work with them either. I get the impression that I'll
maybe an album cover in the future.
Oh,
hopefully,
jeez, your lips to God's ears.
That would be.
But, well, you know what? Even if the story ends here, it's a perfect ending. I get the impression that they, you know, you are now, like they said, in the Metallica family. So you're part of the bench and part of the, you know, part of that team. And I wouldn't be surprised if down the road they look to you for something else, or you know, you certainly have made an impression on them that they've used you twice.
That'd be amazing.
And they're very happy with it. So you got over that sophomore slump that you were afraid of, that this wasn't a fluke.
Yeah.
So I think you have done that on your own steam. That is all you, you know, absolutely all you.
If I could give advice to anybody, any artists out there, never send an email to anybody saying I'm an artist. And I'd love to do artwork for you. What you do is you do the artwork, and then before you even write them, and say, I did this piece.
Here it is.
Would you guys like to use it? Because
what do you got to lose there? I mean, you did the work, and
I was going to
the worst they could say is no.
But I mean, like you can talk about how good you are all day, and nobody's going to go look at your website. Nobody's going to go look at your Instagram. Just send, like, you can't ignore a gigantic attachment to an email like, hey, and they can react very quickly. That either sucks or that's really good.
Yeah, and it was a passion piece for you as well. So you weren't doing this with the anticipation of, I hope they see this. You were kind of just doing it because of lockdown, and you needed to kind of keep those creative muscles working. And you said, let me do something that is passionate and close to me. And so that was like a natural for you. That was just a natural expression of your love for the band, you know? So it wasn't done with any pretext or pretense of, you know, I'm going to do this and get it in front of them. You were doing it and then had the idea of, you know, I want to help them, but I don't have the means right now, but I have the Cremeans right
nice.
Now. I see what you did there. That rolled. You got to give me that. That rolled off.
Nicely done. Well done.
Come on, man.
Well spotted.
You do art, I do words, but you know, honestly, you were able to present something to them. And like I said, it was a Hail Mary pass, but the right person caught it. And a lot of times that's what it's about, is it's the right, you know, all those cosmic tumblers fall into place where your intentions were good. They were pure. They weren't for money or for anything. You were doing it for the love of the band. And then you presented it and said, here, listen, you know what? I did this. If you can use it, have at it. And you know,
Renee, when I first got to meet Renee, I said, you know, you're my favorite person in the world. And she said, all I did was answer an email. I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand, you know, what you just did, you know,
game changer.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to add that, you know, this isn't just a fluke. You know, your artwork stands high and tall, because this is not the first time you've done work for other bands. You've done work for Flogging Molly. You've done work for Big Bad Voodoo Daddy.
Yeah.
Roger Klein and the Peacemakers. So if you go on the website, you'll be able to see some of those pieces as well. So I mean, your art speaks for itself.
I want to hear who, like, top 2 or 3 of who you would like to meet. And just to put a cap on it for me, I spent a month and a half thinking about how I'm going to ruin everything by just saying something idiotic. You don't get the opportunity to do that. You're stuck in you're put in a position very quickly, and you organically go with it. It's not like, remember when you wrote Enter Sandman? You know, it's not like
like that Chris Farley skit with
yeah,
McCartney.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that was really cool. Yeah.
So who would be it for you guys? Like, what would be the?
I'll let Dean go first.
Well, just to keep it short, I actually did meet one. I actually met one.
Let's hear it.
As a big ELO fan, a lot of people, everyone thinks Jeff Lynne is the do all and end all of ELO, but ELO was co-founded by Roy Wood, who was really the founder of ELO. And long story short, I went to a concert in the city, and my wife at the time, who's notoriously always late, was not there. So I walked outside to see if she was coming. And Roy Wood, the founder of ELO, walked right by me out of the same venue I was in. And I'm like, he's in England. He never comes to America. I'm like, was that just Roy Wood? Yeah. He's like walking down the street. Just like you, Andy, I ran after him, but I just said, "Hey, are you Roy Wood?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh my God." I said, "Can I just get a photo?" And the lady he was with took some photos, and that was it. I didn't, I kind of said, "I'm a big fan. You're incredible. I'd wish you play in the States and let him go about his business, because I believe in that too, is not, kind of, these people want their privacy as well. Yeah. And I kind of try and respect that too. But so for me, that was an unexpected one that I would have never, if you had asked me in a million years, would I have ever run into him. So I'm in pretty good shape. That's what awesome. About you, Eric?
Yeah. I think the only people I've ever met were through autographs, and I got pretty when we went to see Phil Collins, we got to see. I got over the course of 2 nights, I got the entire band's autograph, including the Phoenix Horns but everybody but Phil. Of course, he's gone. He's out of there. But it was really great to shake hands with some of those people that you admire, like within the band. Through Andy, I got to meet Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. We went to that one show in St. Pete, so that was a pleasure.
Yeah, they're great guys.
They're the great bunch of guys. But I suppose if I had to choose, like at this point, the people that I would probably love to meet the most today would have to be Derek Trucks and Susan Tedeschi, because they've given me so much joy over the last 16 years. I've been following this band since 2006. I've seen them more than anybody at this point, and they're just kicking it, and they're doing it, and they're so humble apparently, and such great people to be around, and they have such a great following and a fan club, and so they would probably be the people that I would love to just have a conversation with. I could see sitting down and maybe having a drink or two, or because I think they are those kinds of people, but who knows? But at this point, but the big guys, I don't know. It's just, they're just too intimidating. It would be something like if I would I want to meet Sting? No. Would I want to meet Stuart Copeland? Absolutely. Or Andy Summers, like the guys that aren't as popular. Yeah, I'd love to hang out with those guys. You know what I mean? Like it's funny that way, but it's just they're so upper tier that you just I wouldn't know what to say. You'd be just like Stingerino, yeah.
The Stinger, the Sting Man.
Let's talk about tantric.
Yeah. So
awesome. So know what, Andy, we're gonna close it out by, again, I'm really gonna appeal to everybody to check out Andy's art. I mean, that's the whole thing. This is what got him is his love of a band and his passion project. Made this happen for him. It really was. And so we're going to drop links to Andy's Instagram account. We're going to drop a link to All Within My Hands thing too, where you can kind of donate. And then we'll also get a link for the t-shirt. If there's any t-shirts left, we'll get a direct link for that. And you can pick one up and donate as well and help in some small way and have a piece of Andy. I mean, why wouldn't you want to have a piece of Andy in your house? Does that sound weird?
I have several reasons for that. I have one more thing. I have one thing to interject though. They told me when I was doing the Q&A that the shirts had made over $130,000 for the charity so far, and I think that was last month.
Great.
So
well done.
Yeah, man. It's like $1.50 a meal, I think. So like, if you think about
that's a lot of food. Then
it's a lot of food.
A lot of food, all for a fantastic cause. And Andy, that was such a great story. And Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for really kind of, we kind of got some of the higher level stuff of, Andy is doing a poster, Andy's doing a t-shirt, Andy's meeting Metallica. So we kind of got to vicariously see some of it, but to hear a lot of the behind the scenes and how you felt about it, really, this is a case of meeting your heroes was the right thing, and it was a good thing. So
it was wonderful. It was
life-changing. Thank you. Yeah, thank you again, Andy.
And it's wonderful to share this now with our listeners. So
absolutely. And you're going to be the first guest that gets their name in the title of an episode, because we have to call this Andrew Cremeans meets Metallica.
Yeah, it's like
there could be no other title. I can't think of any other title, or it could be "Don't fuck this up."
Yeah,
could be the title of the.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's like Abbott and Costello meets.
Yeah, there you go.
There's one little story talk about meeting your heroes. Out of all the people I've ever met that have been famous, the nicest one, hands down, was Matthew Lillard.
Scooby-Doo, Shaggy, and Scream.
Yeah, but we had watched Scooby-Doo with my daughter. She was with us, and we were at Spooky Empire, and she was, I think, 5 or 6 at the time. And he walked by us, and he's notoriously wonderful. Everybody loves him because he's such a nice guy. And he walks by, and I said to Kira, I was like, "Hey, there's Shaggy." And she goes, "Shaggy," whatever. And he stopped, like made like a Shaggy face, and then he had a beard. And like he knelt down, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And she said, she whispered, she's like, "Are you really Shaggy?" And he like whispered back to him. He's like, "How can you even ask that, man?" And she lit up, and because she heard his voice,
awesome.
Yeah. And he was just such a wonderful guy. Like Matthew Lillard, again, I'll follow him to the end of the earth because he's just such a sweet guy. Anyway,
nice. Awesome.
Meet your heroes.
Awesome. That's going to do it for this episode of the 3324 podcast. To find out more about Andrew, check him out in the show notes. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook as well, 3324 podcast. And you know what? Andrew's done a lot of guesting for us too. So you can go back and kind of listen to some of his takes on Batman and
best of The Crow,
Halloween horror movies. We did a whole bunch of stuff. So thank you again, Andrew. It's always a pleasure. And this was a very special episode. And I thank you for sharing some of your stories with us.
Thank you for letting me talk a lot.
So that'll do it. So for Andrew, for Eric, this has been Dean. We'll see you real soon.
You've been listening to the 3324 podcast with Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider, so please like, subscribe, and rate to become a part of the 3324 family. Your feedback is important, so make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at 3324 podcast and on Twitter at 3324p to join the conversation.